Hi, welcome back to Far From Eden, where we talk about how very far we are from the idea of the Garden of Eden. You don't have to believe that the Garden of Eden was literally true to see how not perfect this all is and what a mess it all is. Speaking of messes, in a recent video, I talked about how I was speaking to my counselor and I said, I'm a mess. And I said, we're all a mess. And she said, I'm not a mess, which kind of violates what she was trained as, to do as a counselor. I have a friend who trained to be a counselor, like a legitimate one. Sorry, not sorry, but a social worker is not qualified to be a counselor. And this one is another social worker. They seem to all be social workers that I have. Anyway, so she's not supposed to interject her own feelings or what have you into it. But anyway, she totally did, and I'm not a mess. And so I don't even remember right now. I don't remember the context of why I shared that in the video. But we're going to call that MS brain. So, but one of my beloved long-time viewers commented that now he's curious, like, what was I a mess about? What did I go on to say? And I responded to him and I said, well, I mean, I'm happy to share, but only if you think it would be helpful, to know that. But I realize, a lot of what I do on this channel is try to talk to men about how women really think and to try to explain to them what is going on up here or what isn't going on up here, because I know that so many of them are bewildered by women that they're married to that said, oh, I would never do that to you and I'll love you forever and what have you, and then she's not happy. She flips a 180 and you're looking across at this devil woman in family court. You don't even recognize her and your head is spinning. Or, maybe you're in the dating scene and I'm so old. You're in the dating scene. Goofy. Anyway, maybe you're trying to date and you're just not having good luck. You're getting used. It's not going well. They're all 304s, what have you. And you guys are just like, why is it this way? Where did women go? So anyway, I'm rambling on about it, but I thought, well, if it helps at all. So it was actually funny because it helped me, because I had to say, okay, well, what was I talking about that I'm such a mess? So, little background. And it's a little embarrassing. I'm not trying to be like overindulgent, talk about myself, but I've been in counseling off and on for the last 22 years, something like that, years. And it's off and on because I have moved so many different times. So, you start with a new counselor. Obviously, the whole idea of telehealth is very, very new. So it's not like you would stay with another. Plus, with insurance, it's complicated. So I've started and stopped with different counselors over the years. And thank you so much for all of the people saying, well, why don't you try a different counselor, try a man. I've been with many counselors in many different states, from the East Coast to the West Coast, both men and women. And what I have found is it is all validating. It's all trying to validate me. It's all trying to sort of help me blame something for whatever predicament I'm in or whatever feelings I'm having. Not once was I ever taught or encouraged to take ownership of a situation. For example, I was never taught, hey, you know what? You get to choose how you feel. Nobody can make you feel any way that you don't let them. By the way, if you want to piss off a woman, say that to her. Because they're always like, well, you make me feel this and you make me feel that. You know what, though? You really do have the power to decide, I'm not going to feel like that. And when I first heard it, I was a little like, oh, how dare you? And then I was like, but it is actually true. It takes a tremendous amount of discipline. But once you accept that fact, you're like, you know, I have power now over this. I don't have to be a victim. However, now that I say that, there's just a lot of people that want to stay victims, and they are generally women, because for women, victimhood is a place of power, because if you're the victim, then you can't be the villain. It's a whole other different video. You can tell I don't work off a script. Sometimes that's good, sometimes not so much. And by the way, thank you guys for putting up with this. I have no makeup on and my hair is in a messy bun. This is how I try to leave the house when I go out, unless I'm actually going to see people I know. I try to look a little more presentable, just so they don't worry about me. If I'm going to teach or coach riding lessons, I don't want them to worry about me and think I look sick or whatever. But when I'm going out anywhere running errands, this is what I look like, because I'm not trying to attract men. Because why else would I put on makeup or do my hair? And I definitely don't wear my hair down, because it's all the way down to my waist. And I'm not trying to attract. So again, back to what we're talking about. So why am I a mess? Well, I've been in counseling for over 20 years, off and on. Originally, it was highly recommended as soon as I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It was almost like, you have MS, get a counselor. And I thought it was weird at first, because that was just never something I thought about. Maybe it was the time. This was the year 2000 was when I was diagnosed. So it was a year later that I ended up, starting with a counselor. And I mean, it's because, of all the things you have to deal with when you deal with this disease, all the things it steals from you, all the changes you have to make, all the pain that you have to live with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they think talking to a counselor will help. For me, not so much, because as I know there are Christian counselors out there, there's not a lot of them. And when I start talking about my faith and how I know there's a reason I'm still here, and it just, goes over their heads. So, and again, they're just validating. And first, okay, we were going to blame my dad for, working too much and not being home. And I mean, there's so much stuff that was not caught. Like my two brothers dying in infancy. Nobody recognized that as an issue or said, well, anything. So I've dealt with those things sort of separately, because the counselors just, it was kind of we got to find a man to blame, or I don't know. There was never a plan. There was never this is how we're going to get better. And from my friend who trained to be a counselor, they don't work to an end date. They don't work to get the person better. That's not the goal. And on top of that, they teach the counselors for the session to be patient driven. That's right. So I'm going to go in there with my issues, and I'm going to be the one to figure out what we should be talking about and what the source is and what my problem. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Don't let me be the one in charge of the session. And I didn't know that at the time. And I learned it after maybe 16, 17 years of on again, off again counselors. I'm oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This is why I could dominate the conversation and talk about things that I was comfortable talking about, and never delve into the things that I was blind to, what have you. So now that I am a little bit more aware, it's super interesting. My counselor is probably in her 60s. Definitely strikes me as a type of feminist for sure. Short hair, the whole thing. And so I said, we're all a mess. I'm not a mess. So what I mean by I'm a mess, like, I will withdraw from like the world and wanting to go out and do things because I have this anxiety that I'm not going to do it like perfectly or up to par. I hold myself to this weird standard and I beat myself up repeatedly over things not being perfect. And you guys who've been watching my channel for a while know, because you're like, yeah, you withdraw from us. And that's purposely why I came on with my hair like this and no makeup on in this giant comfy t-shirt, because I was like, all right. And I know I've done that before too, trying to make a change. But I struggle with that and putting this pressure on myself, and it's ridiculous. And it ends up where it makes me not a great friend because I don't reach out or what have you. I will overeat. You guys, I have this such, thank goodness that for me, I burn calories amazingly well because everything's harder. So for me to move this way or that way, I think I burn tons more calories than the average person. I'm working against my own muscle spasticity. So it's like I have weights on everywhere I go. So thankfully that keeps me thin, and intermittent fasting, and I don't eat this way all the time, but man, I will binge eat some Taco Bell. Like, you have no idea. And then I will have some non-dairy Ben & Jerry's. And it's yesterday I made a yummy like taco bowl for myself, and then I had Junior Mints. They're also non-dairy and like don't have animal products or whatever, so Junior Mints are a go for me. And then later that day, I ate a pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate fudge brownie ice cream. Sure did. And so that's a problem. You know, that sort of internalization, that self-hatred stuff that goes on. And there's more. I mean, there's so much. But it was so good when that commenter, and I wish I could pronounce his YouTube name. He knows who he is. When I was saying I'm a mess, it actually helped me because I thought, you know, the fact that I can say it and be honest with myself and try to improve upon things, actually, it made me feel, didn't make me feel, I felt like I almost had a breakthrough. Because, yeah. And so, I don't know. So I think that these counseling sessions are going to be pretty interesting and very good for research, because boy, do I have a lot of things that I can share with her about how I want to be a traditional woman, how I wish I'd had children. Oh my gosh, I wish I had had children. That was a big mistake. I'm 46 years old. I have no babies. I have no grandbabies. And why? Because when I was younger, I made the decision that, you know, I had been with 2 men physically, thought I was going to marry each one of them. Neither one worked out. And I was like, well, you know, I'm damaged goods and I clearly can't pick. And plus, I don't have anything to offer. So I just stopped. I just didn't date. I didn't try. I didn't anything. I didn't go out anywhere. I stayed at home where my barn was. I trained horses and I gave riding lessons because I was afraid. And I can see that now. And, you know, I was afraid. I was afraid to want something. And I never dealt with that. And now that I'm 46 and I'm taking in probably more red pill content than I ever have, and I'm looking at this generation of women that more so is coming up who will, you know, never have children, and they think it's great because they're fine. They don't want kids. They're doing their career. They'll have kids when they're 40. I'm like, no, you won't. No, you won't. And I have to come to terms with the fact that I'm 46 and there are no babies. I have no babies. And that's on me. I could have. I totally could have. But I made different choices. And so it's up to me to say, all right, well, I can tell other women, and I have. I told the PT tech, she's pregnant, and I told her, that's one of my biggest regrets. And I said it because it's true, and I happen to have like truth Tourette's. But I also, it's people need to realize how valuable that is, and what a big deal that choice is to have kids, and how some women didn't do it and then are past the point where they can. And I've said it to a younger girl I know who's sort of putting off having a child. She's not quite so sure. And I shared, I wish I'd done that. And I've spoken vaguely, there are a lot of women my age that no kids, and we regret it. So that's one of the things I'm kind of messed up about, is basically the consequences of my own decisions, which it took me this long. And I didn't learn it in a counseling office. I learned it from being introspective and really analyzing. And as my counselor says, I've analyzed enough. I don't need to analyze anymore. I've done all that. And I want to be like, why am I here? If we're not gonna dissect some stuff and get to the nitty gritty of it and go, all right, now we can go forward. I don't get it. But normally I would have said, no, you're not useful. This is a waste of time. But I think it might be good for us. I think we might enjoy this a little bit. I'm not going to lie to her. I'm not going to mess around like that. I'm not going to waste time, money that way. But I'm not going to hold back some of my thoughts and feelings, because what an opportunity to see what she's going to say. Although, hey, you guys want to take bets? I bet you she's going to fire me as a client, because guess what? At the end of the session, she's just very brash and harsh. She's like, I don't have anything for 3 weeks. Okay, that was aggressive. I don't have anything for 3 weeks. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I got my little pen out. I'm ready to write it down. And she goes, October, da 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 da. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. So we'll see if somehow she's like, oh, I found a different counselor for you, whatever. That's going to be great. Anyway, I have talked for a long time, and hopefully you put it on 1.5 speed, because I rambled. I'm always I don't know what I'm going to say. This is going to be a short video. And then 20 minutes later, because we talk about a lot of stuff. So, and that's probably why I need to start going live. But anyway, I didn't say it in the beginning, like always. Please hit like and subscribe. We're at 760 subscribers. Yay! So I need more subs. Then I can get a microphone that drowns out background noise when my dog is digging on the couch because she wants my attention, or the air conditioner kicks on. That'd be good. Then we could have some more technology. That would be maybe easier for me since I'm technologically impaired. Anyways, you guys, have a good rest of your night. I might make another video tonight. I'm not even sure yet. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for listening, and have a great rest of your day.